Commissioners, good morning everyone, and welcome to the January 7, 2021 Cumberland County Commissioners Virtual Workshop Meeting. Please stand and join me for the pledge of allegiance by saying, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." I call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. and at this time I open up the floor to public comments. Looks like we're just waiting for people to be unmuted. Okay, Peg Bauer, do you have public comment?
No, thank you.
Okay. I believe we also have Jim Hertzler on the line. Jim?
Okay, thank you, Stacy. So Gary, Vince, and Jean, good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. First of all, to wish you and my former colleagues in county government a happy, healthy, and productive 2021. It goes without saying this morning, and I think that all of us as citizens of America, this county, this state, this nation are reeling and sickened in our stomachs by what transpired within the past 24 hours in our nation's capital. The insurgency against our democracy, the attempt to overthrow an election, the mob attack on the People's House in Washington, D.C., the coup attempt on our government fomented by the outgoing president of these United States, and thank goodness a shrinking band of followers this morning, will be seared in our memories forever as one of the saddest days in the history of our country. And while not the prime reason for my call today and not pertaining to the business of the county that you're about to address at your workshop, it is nonetheless at the forefront, I believe, of most of our minds this morning. So let me just say, I hope you will join me in praying for our country. Yesterday was a sad day for America, and hopefully we will get beyond this and work toward healing this nation and eliminating the poison in our politics. Having said that, and as this new year is underway, and this is going to be a hard pivot, but I know you as well as I and the people of our county and county government continue to mourn the loss of Cumberland County's Chief Clerk, Sandy Moyle, and that's the main reason for my call, to share some memories about Sandy. I want to thank you for your action Monday in directing the lowering of the county's flag to half staff in memory of a truly great public servant. I was, as I know you were, deeply saddened to learn of Sandy's departure from this life on Christmas. As we celebrated the birth of our Savior, our hearts were nonetheless broken when we received word of Sandy's passing. You know, we go through life not knowing when the end will come. In relative terms, lives are short. Some cut short way too soon, but along the way, we all get to decide what we do with the days and the years that we do have. And also along the way, in addition to our families, we get to know and meet many people. Some are schoolmates, some are co-workers, some are mere acquaintances, and some become close friends, and then we have those special people who touch our lives in memorable ways. For me and many, Sandy was such a special person. She was an exceptionally good person, compassionate and caring. As I told her husband yesterday in a telephone conversation that I had with him, is that she touched our lives. And when given the opportunity of becoming our county's chief clerk and chief operations officer, following the rather abrupt departure of one of our county's previous chief clerks and then another, she shined. She stepped up to the plate, went above and beyond the call of duty,
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Okay, so hearing no additional members of the public and seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 3. And I'll call on Tammy Bender to discuss resolution 2021-1 regarding a budget adjustment. And commissioners, please note this is an action requested item. Tammy?
Good morning, Commissioners. Finance is requesting approval of one budget resolution for the retirement fund, increasing revenue and expenses by $600,000. Losses were impacted by the market sell-offs in March of this year, and withdrawals were driven by the retirement of several longtime employees. Are there any questions?
Make a motion to approve resolution 2021-1.
I will second that motion.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 4 is contracts and grants, with agenda item 4, Roman numeral 1, A through F, which consists of existing contracts, contract extensions, or addenda with no additional cost or increase to the county for children and youth services, the district attorney CID, drug and alcohol, planning, prison and security, tax administration. Commissioners, do you have any questions, concerns, or comments regarding any of those agreements? Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 4, Roman numeral 2, which consists of new contracts, vendors, services, grants, and contracts with increases or decreases to the county. And I'll start by calling on Kim Bittner and Christine Bowden to discuss aging and community services contracts. Kim and Christine?
Hi, good morning. The first one is the agreement between us and the Carlisle Senior Housing to provide quality assurance monitoring for 1+10. Our homeless assistance, care management supervisor, written program evaluation reviews, one in 2021 and one in 2022.
Good morning, and the other two contracts are ABRC pass-through contracts. Therefore, as you're made aware before, that Cumberland County is the coordinator for 9 counties, and these are pass-through contracts to cover their costs through the Aging and Disability Resource Center.
Do you have any questions? Okay.
I just want on the first one, the Carlisle Senior Housing Association, is that a 1 or 2 year contract? It says the term's 12/31/22.
It's 2 years.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Jamie Reiber is here to discuss the agreement for children and youth. Jamie?
Good morning, Commissioners. This contract is for Concern. It is one of our foster care providers. They do have some significant increases in their rates for this year, ranging anywhere from 3.5% to 34%. However, their increases are going to the foster care per diems, which is much needed and has not happened in quite some time. Their rates are still very low in comparison to some other foster care agencies, and they actually have not received quite as many increases as they would have liked throughout the years that we have contracted with them. We were okay with rate at this period.
Any questions for Jamie? Thank you, Jamie. Next, I'll call on Ben Moyer to discuss the 2 agreements for Claremont Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. Ben?
Good morning. The first one I'll talk about is the Immediate Care Auction Network. That is a staffing agency. We have been contracted with this tent since December of 18. They put through a new contract for price increases and also to add some COVID language as well as rates for COVID. Even with their price increases, they're actually right in line with a lot of the other staffing agencies we have. And their COVID rates are time and a half, which is also what many of our agencies have agreed
Snow with Finance to discuss the FEMA Public Assistance Grant. Ron?
Good morning, Commissioners. What you have is the FEMA Public Assistance COVID-19 grant. The grant amount is $15,595.08. The federal government will cover 75%, which is $11,696.31. The remaining $3,898.77 is non-federal share. At one point, the state government was planning on covering this share. We have not heard if that's still happening or not. So if that doesn't happen, that will be a local share covered by the county. And what this covered was COVID-19 supplies, so disinfecting supplies and hand sanitizer for the period of 1/20 through 3/1/30, which was before our CARES Act funding kicked in. And it also covered some N95 masks that MHIDD distributed to some of their providers from early April through September 15th. That's what makes up the total of the 15,000.
Any questions for Ron? Okay, thank you, Ron. Next, I'll call on Holly Sherman to discuss the BHS addendum. Holly?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is an addendum to our current contract with BHS for our wellness program. This is to add spouses to the wellness program, so those spouses who are enrolled in the medical plan, requiring them to complete the wellness in order to get the funding, as well as an addendum to allow our staff to provide a monthly file for upload instead of requiring employees to log themselves into the website.
Any questions for Holly? All right, I'm actually covering the next agenda item for Kirk Stoner. And this is related to Ramp Bridge, which is the county's last covered bridge in Hopewell Township. The rehabilitation project kicked off in October and was necessitated by a vehicular accident that damaged the bridge, along with ongoing deterioration. As part of the work, J. Fulbright and Sons Incorporated have removed some of the siding. And once the siding was removed, it was determined that there was some additional deterioration to some of the truss members that could not be seen with the siding in place. Based on this new deterioration, some additional repairs are recommended. Kirk and his staff have coordinated with the contractor and have a cost estimate, which is $18,916.92, and can be covered through the county bridge CIP. HRG has reviewed the order and believes it is acceptable and necessary. The project should be completed in May of 2021. If you do have any additional questions, I can certainly get answers for you before Monday. Okay. All right, so moving along, I'll call on Sue Carbaugh to discuss the agreements for mental health, intellectual and developmental disabilities, and early intervention. Sue? Looks like she might be having some technical difficulties, so if you don't mind, we'll move on to...
Here.
Oh, thank you, Sue. Okay.
Sorry, I was having, I don't know what happened, but anyways, I'm trying to start my camera and it won't go, so how about I just, but it is, all right?
Okay.
Okay, so the first contract is mental health contract. It's NEVA worldwide, is an addendum. It's an increase of $500. It's for language interpretation. And the increase is to add video remote interpretation. This next three contracts are ID contracts. The first one is for the ARC of Cumberland and Perry County, also an addendum. It's an increase of $37,390. The increase is due to prior year retained ARC, and we are paying for residential renovations with this increase. The second contract for ID is Geneva Worldwide. It is an increase of $500, and the increase again is due to we are adding video remote interpreting. The next contract
a new contract. The amount of the contract is for $74,965, and it is also for prior year retained earnings. And we are paying for respite renovations for a vehicle and also to widen the driveway. And the last contract for ID is for community auctions. It is also a new contract for $13,000. It is also a prior year earnings contract, and we are paying for renovation for an office and for furniture at this time. The last three contracts are for early intervention. The Central PA Therapy Connections is an increase of $18,500, and it is an increase to add language interpretation to the contract. Again, we have a contract in early intervention for Geneva Worldwide. It is also an addendum, an increase of $500 to increase due to the remote insertion. And the final contract is Feeding Little Bellies. It is an increase of $18,787. And the increase is through additional services that we need for the children.
Do you have any questions for Sue?
Any questions? Who are we looking at?
I believe that's Brad King.
That's Brad.
He is waiting very patiently.
Right, because Sue's
for
talking,
this
but
agenda
something
item.
else is on
Yeah.
the camera. Brad, it is Brad,
There we go.
okay.
I thought it was Sue.
I wanted to be sure the Martians hadn't arrived, you know,
Yeah.
so they were coming down to tell us they're
Oh,
not
we know
there.
the cameras were.
There's my camera now.
Yes, of course, it's working now that
There we go.
you're done.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank
You
you,
can
Sue.
keep your camera on while Brad talks if you like. You know, just so equal time and all that.
All right, I don't know what the problem was with my camera this morning, but now it's working, so have a
we're
good
good.
day.
We're good. Thanks.
Thank you, Sue. All right, next I'll call on Elizabeth Grant to discuss the grant for the planning department. Elizabeth?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You got it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. I have before you a contract amendment to our existing contract with the Department of Environmental Protection for the Community Clean Water Action Plan Coordinator, and it would be processed as a contract amendment to add budget for implementation funding, which we received. The total amount is $490,816, which includes $100,000 for our contract with our Community Clean Water Action Plan Coordinator, and $390,816 for 3 barnyard installations of best management practices, and for the installation of conversion of turf to forest that is proposed in our Community Clean Water Action Plan.
Any questions for?
There's-
Oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say that there's no budget and there's no cost to the county. This is all DEP funding.
Thank you, good. Any other questions for Elizabeth?
These are just very good projects. We're
Yes.
seeing growing cooperation of our farmers, and they're trying to get
Yep.
the message that these things work to help reduce pollution. Very happy to see this.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, we'll move on then to agenda item number 5, and I'll call on Ryan Simon to discuss the donation from Big Spring Area Community Chest to Drug and Alcohol. Ryan?
Good morning, Commissioners. Each year, Big Spring Area Community Chest has made a donation to the Commission, and this year they would like to make a $1,000 donation. We plan to use that money for basic services to the area.
Any questions for Ryan? Okay, so next I'll call on Brad King to discuss the Claremont Nursing and Rehabilitation Center credit application for Train. Brad?
Yes, Marshall Bray King here on Bailey Report.
Brad, we thought they'd come down and tell us to knock off the ride.
We just need a little laugh at it, especially what we've been going through. We're to request for a credit application, a line of credit for Train. If you recall, it was approved for a PM contract for
suits you, just so you know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Next, I'll call on Commissioner DiFilippo to discuss the Redevelopment Authority Board reappointment recommendation. Commissioner DiFilippo.
There's a simple request to reappoint Deb Kelly to the authority board. I have no objection to it.
And then we'll move on to the next agenda item, and I'll call on Commissioner DiFilippo again to discuss the Agricultural Land Preservation Board reappointment recommendations.
Yes, we have two folks whose terms expire. However, they both would like to remain. This would be their second 3-year term. They can speak to both individuals. They've been very productive, and their comments have been very helpful to the Ag Preservation Board, and I recommend a reappointment.
Okay, thank you. And this is our first workshop of the year, so we're going to plow through a bunch more of these authorities and boards. And I'll call on Commissioner Eichelberger to discuss the Central Pennsylvania Transportation Authority reappointment recommendation.
Right, we have our own Andy Strike, who's been serving on that board during a central time here where we're talking about what to do with our transit, what options work best for us. Her term is recurring here, and we're interested in seeing a reappointment there, so we'll be requesting action on Monday on that.
And Commissioner DiFilippo, I'm going to call on you again to talk about the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board appointment and reappointment recommendations.
Yes, excuse me, Linda Figueroa has expressed interest. There's a little write-up on her from Mary Kuna, who strongly recommends her. Linda seems to be a good fit to fill a vacant spot coming up, and I recommend that we approve Linda for that position.
Thank you. Commissioner Fashi, if you don't mind speaking to the Cumberland County Planning Commission appointment and reappointment recommendation.
We didn't miss,
Oh,
we did,
what?
we missed, unless I was not listening closely enough, did we get everyone for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board?
No, we did not.
Oh, I apologize.
It's okay. Yes, Kelly Nieder, Michelle Crowley, David Barrick, and Melissa McAllen would like to be reappointed for another 2-year term. And I certainly have no objection and would recommend that happen.
Right now, we'll move on to Planning Commission appointments and reappointment recommendations.
All right, so there were, we have 3 members whose terms expire in 2020. And member Jack Shelley passed away in October due to health issues. And R.J. Fisher has served the maximum of the 2 4-year terms as outlined in the Cumberland County Planning Commission's bylaws. So, the Cumberland County Planning Commission followed its traditional practice of publicly advertising vacancies. Interested residents were requested to submit an application and a 1-page resume. The Planning Commission received 6 applications, and the membership committee, including Kirk Stroner, Ed Franco, and Jim Ross, reviewed those applications and interviewed 3 of the best qualified applicants and discussed their findings with the full board. And so the board is recommending that the following 2 individuals be appointed to the Cumberland County Planning Commission for 4-year terms starting in 2021. That's Matt Fisher of Upper Allen Township and Tracy Vernon of Hamden Township. And then we have a reappointment for a 4-year term effective January 1 of 2021 and expiring December 21 of 2024. And that is a reappointment of Heather Swedizer of Lower Allen Township.
Thank you. And next I'll call on Commissioner Eichelberger to discuss the Recycling and Waste Authority appointment recommendations.
Right, yeah. Judd sent up, the board had discussed 2 appointments, and they're putting forward the names of Brian O'Neill and Joe Lossuck, whose credentials I believe we have. Brian, I think most of us may be familiar with, Brian used to be the engineer at South Milton Township, and he does quite a bit there, and he's moved into the private industry now, continues to be very involved, very knowledgeable. And I don't know Mr. Lossuck, but I know he has spoken highly of, so once again, we're going to enjoy a nice range of talent among our employees.
All right, so we'll move on to the next agenda item, and I'll call on Commissioner Fashi to discuss the HATS Technical Committee appointment recommendation.
So the HATS Technical Committee, HATS standing for the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study, which sounds like it's a group of people studying transportation, but it's really a committee. It's a group of people. And so we have an appointment recommendation of Debbie Ealer to the Technical Committee, and this appointment is ongoing with no expiration.
All right, and the last board that we have is the South Central Workforce Development Board appointment recommendation. I'm calling Commissioner Eichelberger to discuss.
Right, the county has a number of appointees from the business world that goes onto the Workforce Investment Board. When you hear me talk about the Workforce Investment Board, I'm often talking about the local elected officials committee, which I serve on, but there is a business representation arm that really is the major decision maker for the Workforce Investment Board. And the name brought forward for our consideration is Clifton Sky. So I'm not familiar with Mr. Sky, but we do have his credentials, and I'm satisfied that he would be a very good thing to one action. Oh, I'm sorry, we are looking for action on this today, so I'd like to make the motion for the appointment. I'm looking for a second.
I'll second that motion.
So moved and seconded, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, so we'll move on then to agenda item 15, which is Commissioners' Liaison Reports, and I'll start by calling on Commissioner Eichelberger.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Okay, all right, so we'll move on then to Commissioner Washington.
I have two things. I'll be very brief. One, use the library. Holy cow, it's just, the library is just fantastic, and the online services are unbelievable. So use your library. And I have a short, sweet piece. We sit here this morning and we go over the business of the county, and as Commissioner Hertzler talked about this morning, he said, the business of the county. Let's get to the business of the county. The county has a lot to do, and it needs a lot of help from our elected officials. And so I am imploring the delegation of Cumberland County to get to the business of helping the citizens of Cumberland County, helping the people that are here, of getting us the money we need to truly deliver quality, excellent human services. And I think the first way you could start is by abandoning this idea of election fraud. And it is offensive in Cumberland County for me to even hear those words. I've said this before, I will say it again. We delivered a fair, accurate, and reliable election. We tasked our people, our Bureau of Elections, with an unbelievable new thing, right? That we did new mail-in ballots in this general election that were a nightmare because our delegation cannot assist in getting together to allow us to deal with some of those mail-in ballots prior to Election Day. So it's time for the delegation to get to work on what matters and to let go of this untruth of election fraud. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Washington. Commissioner DeFilippo.
I have no updates. I have no liaison meetings.
All right, thank you. I would like to report there was an executive session held on January 6, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. regarding personnel. And we'll then move on to other business. And I'll first call on Ron Snow to discuss Resolution 2021-2, which is a budget resolution related to CARES Act funding. And commissioners, please note this is an action requested item. Ron?
Yeah, we're asking for approval for the County Relief Block Grant to increase expenses $3 million in 2021 for year-end adjustments. What happened was there's quite a few items that we received here in the last week or two that we're not going to actually be able to pay the invoice in 2020. So we'll be accruing the expense back to 2020. We have to roll the POs over to 2021. So it's basically just an accounting change. Clean things up.
Any questions for Ron?
Do you have a motion for approval?
I'll move to approve the County Relief Block Grant funded increase of expenses by $3 million, and noting that the resolution is for year-end adjustments.
Do a second.
Should that resolution be specifically going to 2021-2?
Yes.
So I will amend the motion to specifically state this is for 2021 to 2022.
The resolution is no number.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
2021
Oh, I understand.
dash.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's easy to.
Okay.
So,
I'll second the motion.
Okay, it's moved and seconded, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there any additional business that needs to come before the board today? Okay, hearing none, we will adjourn.